Hi, Paul.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Good, thank you. Are you?
Good.
We're talking today about kind of the wider impact that Britain's high streets are facing from illicit tobacco, illicit products, and kind of going beyond that. What else these stores are doing, and how the government seem to be kind of missing a trick in kind of dealing with this problem, or kind of not dealing with it at all. So let's just start with the basics. Kind of what types of illegal goods are kind of commonly seized from shops across the UK?
Well, look, Rob, you've seen firstly what we've been doing here at Sea Talk with the Protect Your Store campaign. I think we were still the first ones in the UK to highlight this issue out to government. And you see now that BBC, ITV, GB News, everyone is now behind this. And the results are now coming out that it's not just illicit tobacco, it's not just helium, but there's now also traces of drugs and other stolen goods that have been sold in these stores, which is fueling that side of the black market of the high street.
Yeah, well, I saw it in Manchester myself when I lived in the city for a few years. You know, shops kind of selling anything they could get their hands on behind the till, not just tobacco, like you say. There were drugs, and they weren't even really hiding it. So we're not just seeing this in cities now, we're seeing it in towns, in the smaller cities like Coventry, where we're based. So kind of based on that, how widespread do you think this is? Do you think it really is hitting the countryside? Do you think it's hitting, rural areas, or is it's not just a problem in the cities, is it?
Well, look, from the research that we've done here at CTOP, we know that amongst our friends in the industry and many retailers up and down the country, everyone's been hit with this. This illicit spate that's happened and the government's allowed to happen in the UK is hit everybody, right? And it doesn't matter where you are in the country, north, east, south, west, wherever you might be, it's hitting every retailer. And the bit that I'm really, I'm really upset about the government. It took the BBC to bring this to life, to get the government thinking. What about the 55,000 retailers and more in the UK that have been affected by this?
Already.
Did the government not want to listen to us? It makes me so angry that Jonathan Reynolds and Peter Cole still today have not reached out to us after all the hard work we put in, along with many retailers up and down the country, and they just don't get what's going on in local communities. And it's got to that point now where you see so many car crashes that are happening in the UK now, where people are high, sucking these helium balloons. They're getting them from these shops, right? Come on, government. Do you want that to continue?
If anything, they're cutting trade standards, fees to trading standards, and it's not going to help enforcement, is it? If the only body that are responsible for doing anything about it have got less money to deal with the problem in the first place.
Yeah, I think, I'll go back to my original bit. Government needs to have a steering committee which is made up of retailers in that steering committee to inform government what's going on a local level. I think government themselves never get out of Westminster unless they want votes. That's the only time you ever see them out here. And they're not getting the information, and that doesn't mean that we're in Coventry and I know the problems that Coventry City Council have as answering back to anything and, closing these stores down. This is widespread. It's up and down the country. It's hitting every retailer's pocket. It's hitting families where kids are going into these stores and getting illicit products, whatever it might be, from a single cigarette to helium, whatever it might be. All right. And the government are allowing this to happen. The police, you can find the police, and I don't think the police are really interested in this until they get told, and the BBC orchestrate and organise one of their videos. And look, the BBC, I praise them for what they've done. They've really brought this to life, right? But that's on the back of the hard work that us retailers have done up and down the country. And, the BBC have done a great job of publicising this, but maybe the government should have listened to us as independent retailers who are out there in every postcode of every community providing that have been affected.
For sure. And I mean, it's credit to the ACS as well. For now, they've got their own campaign now talking about it. But does it feel like a little bit late, and the this has already been happening? But,
well, I think the ACS are doing a tremendous job of this. They're really getting it out there now. Ed and Chris, are just flying with this at the moment and are really supporting the convenience sector. I think there's still a lot more to be done And this is why I said, government needs to bring, industry lobbies, which is the FWD, the ACS, the SGF, and retailers together in the room, and to understand what is going on in local neighbourhoods and how it's affecting, retailers' livelihoods. But it's allowing illicit stores to profiteer from illicit products, which is not going back into the UK economy and harming UK economy with the illicit products that they are selling. It's got a medical effect to them as well, right? And some might say, why do you guys keep posting videos about this? It's about smoking. But we're doing what's legally allowed to be sold in the UK, not illegally. There's a big difference there.
Contraband tobacco, you don't know what's in it.
Yeah, and I'd say 1 in 3 is now sold contraband.
Yeah.
As a consumer, why would you want to pay £15 for a pack of cigarettes when you can buy, the same ones which are contraband or illegal or fake for £4?
Half of cigarettes now. I think a recent PML report, the KPMG report, have stated that 45% of the cigarettes people are smoking out there now are illicit, and what choice do people have when the prices keep going up, but the illicit products become more and more available? So even the tobacco companies now are trying to voice their opinion on it.
I mean, look, all the tobacco companies out there, whether it might be Imperial, BAT, JTI, PMI, they're all doing a tremendous job out there by helping retailers. If you see it, report it. And that's the message they're telling us. But look, a lot of retailers are scared to report it because they don't know who's going to come and knock on their door, because they know it's organised crime. And this is what government don't understand. This is what local police don't understand, right? And, poor councils, they've got no support anyway. So, at the moment, it's a win-win for these stores that are opening up everywhere. And that's why they're open till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I would guess that most of these haven't even got a license to open that time in the morning. They know nothing's going to happen, so carry on and do what you got to do, right?
It's like dealing with a mafia. And how is a family trying to run an independent store, supposed to, they're not knowing who's knocking on their door about this, and they'd rather side with keep the money coming in because of everything else is costing more money. These are small businesses. What choice do they have when it's that available and there's no questions asked, because it's a mafia approach? They don't really know who they're dealing with.
And like I said to you, if we haven't got our industry lobbying specialists behind us, where would the independent retailer go for help? Okay. And it's, do you know what? It's actually, it makes you feel sick of what the government has let happen in the UK. They're saying they want to cut smoking rates, but then stop these dodgy shops from selling single cigarettes for 50p to kids. You're not going to achieve anything unless they actually start seeing what's going on a local level. If they don't want to see it on a local level, all they've got to do is come out of Westminster and walk down Oxford Street and see what's going on. And we're told every day by different retailers how it's affecting them. Retailers are thinking that, how to shape their businesses now. Is there going to be staff cuts? Is it going to be hour cuts? Because it's affecting livelihoods, right? And it's not just the sale of cigarettes that have gone out their stores. It's all the associated products that go when that customer's in your store. And this is what government are understanding. But look, if Peter Kyle and Keir Starmer, if that's in their remit and that's what they want to do is promote dodgy shops, then come out and say it in public. Because I feel as a retailer, this is what Peter Kyle and Keir Starmer are supporting. For whatever reason, they're doing it. Just come out and say it.
It's the head in the sand, isn't it? And let's move away from how this affects the retailers who are feeling it firsthand. What about the communities who see repeated raids, increased violence, increased illegal activity? How does that affect local communities?
Well, local communities, we hear it and they say, look, it doesn't matter, they'll be back open tomorrow. That's the answer you get from the people in the community. I've been raided again, it'll be back open tomorrow.
And I guess that's the whack-a-mole approach, isn't it? Of like trying to tackle these businesses. We'll take one down, another one comes up, or the same one will just reopen, like you say, sometimes next day. Because once they've done their job, they go away, and the business can just come straight back.
Look, I think this is what communities want as well. They want tougher sentences on these stores that are continually committing these offences. That's what communities want. They want these shops gone as well, because they know that they're putting single cigarettes into communities' hands. They're putting vapes with THC into consumers' hands. That's their kids, right?
Yeah.
Come on, these shops need to have a due care responsibility. I'm sure they've got kids as well.
Yeah,
But
and these shops are near schools.
Yeah, do you know what? They don't care. They just don't care. They'll do whatever they need to do to make a living, and they'll carry on. And it's affecting everybody. And I dread to think what are in these cigarettes and what people are putting onto their chest and lungs off these cigarettes. I do think consumers need to start thinking a bit more carefully about when they're buying these products, what's actually in them.
Well, to finish, is there any reason to feel positive? When we look at JTIs, it costs more than you think. When we look at the ACS now starting to make waves on this, when we look at PML and ourselves who were first at the gate, is there reason to think, well, maybe if we all unite, the retailers, the cigarette manufacturers, if we do come together and we can make our voice heard, do you think it will have an impact?
I think that's what we need to do. I think the positive outcome of this is we need to act as one, send a voice as one, and hopefully the government will listen to our problems, because it's not just about government saying we don't want cigarettes out there. I think we're doing the right thing as communities, coming together with one single voice to government saying, this is what's happening in our community. Please, government, help us make our community safer.